Hello, this is Mayor Ed again, and I'd like to read you my most recent article, and the title is Abraham's Covenant with God in the Old Testament is the key to finally ending the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The failure to make a determined, educated, well-informed, insightful effort at ending the religious conflict between Israel and the Palestinians and Iranians has been an egregious analytic and intellectual error on the part of Israel and the United States, as well as monotheism authorities and academics. In fact, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not essentially about land, contrary to the conventional wisdom. Rather, it is essentially a religious conflict between Jews and Muslims, which explains why all, quote, land for peace, quote, negotiations have failed. The failure of political leaders to doggedly look for a way to delegitimize the religious reasons for the conflict is confounding and dispiriting, especially when the solution for ending the religious conflict between the Israelis and Palestinians has always been hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be pointed out to the warring parties. Once the religious component of the conflict is delegitimized, then the conflict can be easily resolved using secular logic, good faith, fairness, and empathy. What is the religious solution hiding in plain sight? The world history-changing covenant between Abraham and the God of monotheism in the Old Testament, since the Old Testament and Abraham are embraced by the Quran. Indeed, there would be no Quran and no New Testament without the Old Testament, which informs them. Crucially, Abraham is revered by both Jews and Muslims as the first prophet of the God of monotheism and as the founder of the three monotheistic religions. They cannot revere Abraham and the Old Testament while at the same time dismissing Abraham's covenant with their God. Abraham is a crucial figure in monotheism. Without him and his covenant with the God of the Bible and the Quran, there would be no Jews, no Christians, and no Muslims. The covenant is the key. What then is the content of the Old Testament's covenant between God and Abraham? In exchange for Abraham loving God and proving his devotion by getting circumcised, God promises the land of Israel and in exclusivity to him and all his descendants, so long as all his male descendants are circumcised, indispensable evidence of their love and devotion to God. The covenant in the Old Testament's book of Genesis is indisputable and unambiguous. It religiously seals the exclusive, perpetual sovereignty over the biblical land of Israel to Abraham and his descendants. Abraham is the first Jew, and all his descendants are Jews, so long as they are circumcised, showing their love for the God of the Old Testament, who is also the God of the New Testament and of the Quran. Since all Muslims, including the Palestinians, are instructed by the Quran to revere Abraham and believe in the Old Testament, they must acknowledge and respect the covenant and the religious legitimacy of the Jews' sovereignty over the biblical lands of Israel. Such sovereignty does not mean the Jews of Israel should not fairly treat cooperating non-Jewish inhabitants of Israel, respecting their civil rights, including property rights in Israel, even without necessarily granting them citizenship. What about the inconsistency in the Quran of Muhammad's virulent hatred of Jews? While Muhammad doesn't mention the land of Israel or an Israeli-Palestinian conflict, since it didn't exist until 1,200 years later, he hates the Jews. Very significantly, his hatred has nothing to do with land anywhere in the world. It's purely a religious hatred, an absolute intolerance. Here are quotes from the Quran. Quote, Allah's curse is on the unbelievers. This is from the Quran's Surah 2, verse 89. Allah is the enemy of the unbelievers. Surah 2, verse 98. O you who believe, retaliation is prescribed for you. Surah 2, verse 178. And whoever desires a religion other than Islam, it shall not be accepted from him. Surah 3, verse 85. We will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Surah 3, verse 151. Surely those who disbelieve will not believe. Allah has set a seal upon their hearts, and there is great punishment for them. Surah 2, verse 6 and 7. They desire that you disbelieve. Seize them and kill them wherever you find them, and take not from among them a friend or a helper. Surah 4, verse 89. Ask the Israelites how many a clear sign we have given them, and whoever changes the favor of Allah after it has come to him, then surely Allah is severe in requiting evil. Surah 2, verse 211. Say to those who disbelieve, you shall be vanquished and driven together to hell, and evil is the resting place. Surah 3, verse 12. Have you not considered those Jews who are given a portion of the book? Then a part of them turn back and they withdraw. Surah 3, verse 23. Of those who are Jews, Allah has cursed them on account of their unbelief. Surah 4, verse 46. For the iniquity of those who are Jews, did we disallow to them the good things? Surah 4, verse 160. We believe, and their hearts do not believe. And from among them who are Jews, those are they for whom Allah does not desire that he should purify their hearts. They shall have disgrace in this world, and they shall have a grievous chastisement in the hereafter. Surah 5, verse 41. Fight those who do not believe in Allah. And the Jews say, Ezra is the son of Allah. And the Christians say, the Messiah is the son of Allah. May Allah destroy them. Surah 9, verse 29 and 30. As to those who disbelieve, for them are cut out garments of fire. Boiling water shall be poured over their heads. With it shall be melted what is in their bellies and their skins as well. And for them are whips of iron. Surah 22, verses 19, 20, and 21. It seems clear from the above quotes that Muhammad, quite simply, is furious with anyone who rejects Islam, in particular the Jews, who reject Islam since they only believe in the Old Testament. Were it not for Muhammad's unreasonable hatred for those who do not believe in Islam, a clear violation of freedom of religion, and in contradiction with the Quran's Surah 2, verse 256, which states, quote, there is no coercion in religion, quote, end quote. So were it not for Muhammad's unreasonable hatred for those who do not believe in Islam, Muslims would not be taught to hate Jews, and there would not be a problem of peaceful coexistence in the land of Israel. The point must be emphasized that since the Quran embraces and reveres Abraham, it makes no sense for Muslims to dismiss the covenant. Logic and consistency should guide all Muslims, including the Palestinians, to accept the Jews' sovereignty over the biblical lands of Israel in accordance with the covenant. Once that is settled, the religious conflict is eliminated. Then, the Israelis and the Palestinians, using good faith and secular logic, would no doubt be able to reach a fair, sustainable peace and be capable of coexisting peacefully and harmoniously with full mutual recognition of human rights as listed by the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That would lead to enormous prosperity in the whole region, especially if the peace agreement included repairing the vast damage inflicted on Gaza following the atrocious Hamas attack on Israeli civilians on October 7th, 2023. Those repairs would be intended to help Gaza quickly develop into a beautiful tourist destination, providing Gazans with enormous employment opportunities and greatly increased incomes and wealth, while Gaza would become the proud and peaceful sovereign nation of the Palestinians, free of religious discriminations and desires of revenge. Everybody happy and greatly relieved, if wistful, knowing that 80 years of hatred, violence, and suffering could have and should have been avoided. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this article of interest and persuasive. See you next time.